Old and I'm old. Ah. Cash is in the house. What's up, Cash? And you thought you killed me. What's up, everyone? It is Tuesday, September 12th, 7 p.m. on the East Coast. As always, um, we'd like to give about a couple minutes for people to realize that we're live. So feel free to come on in. Let me know you're here. Say hello, where you're from. And we'll get started in the next 2 minutes. It's good to be back. I've been sick for the last 4 weeks. I'll probably talk about it tonight since OCD really loved all of it. Hey, Erica McCoy, good to see you. If you're just joining us, please say hi in the chat. Let us know where you're from. We'll get started in just about another minute. And I look forward to filling you in on all the things. It was a pretty long bout, Robert. I had it for 4 weeks, and it's been about 8 or 9 days since I haven't had an episode. But I'm not even close to feeling like myself. Maybe 50%. Hey, Matt Bannister, and hey, Cleve. Good to see you for the first time, I think, in New Jersey. If you're just joining us, we'll get started in just a few minutes, or just a few seconds, actually, 30 seconds. But say hello. Let us know where you're from. There is my mother. Hi, Mom. Myrna in Scotland. It's great to see you. Thank you for being here. Mike Sizemore's in the house. All the friends. Good to see you. Dave is here. Good to see you, Dave. And thank you. I'm glad to be back. I'm not going to lie. I'm a little nervous. This is the first time I've been at sort of my office setup computer. Hey, Dottie. It's good to see you. Hi, Jen. It's the first time I've been at my office computer, which I have a big monitor setup, although I've turned everything off. And yeah, I've noticed that big screens and computers aren't my friend these days with the vertigo, and I'll update you. So it's kind of my first time here, so I'm kind of hesitant. Like, how's this going to feel? What's going to happen? Am I going to start spinning? So if I start grabbing onto something and screaming for Katie, she'll take over. I'll be fine. Don't let it scare you, but it can be fun for all of us. So we'll live with the uncertainty. Anyway, we're a little over 2 minutes past the hour. So let's get started and talk about some things. And if you're just joining us, welcome. And let me know you're here. Say hi, where you're from, all the exciting things. So welcome to Community Conversations. My name is Ethan. I'm a national advocate for the International OCD Foundation. Hey, Betsy Ritchie, how are you? This community conversation is intended as educational content. It is not intended to replace therapy. For treatment-related questions, please be sure to work with your local provider or contact a local clinician. The International OCD Foundation is not a crisis hotline. If you are in a crisis or ever feeling suicidal or unsafe, please go to your local emergency room or call 911 or 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, by dialing 988. We want to create a safe space and be kind and respectful to everyone. At the end of the day, we're all here to support one another. And I note that this is being broadcast on several social media platforms and is being recorded, so keep that in mind as we talk about vulnerable and personal and private things. Amy Ellickson in the house. It's good to see you too. Hi, Jordan Crawford. And there's my heart in San Francisco, a little south, but Valerie Andrews in the house, who sent me the most amazing gift while I was sick. She sent me a box of Doritos, and it was phenomenal. I now can't fit in my pants, but that's okay. She knew I wouldn't be able to fit in my pants also, but she sent it anyway. Anyway, good to see you all here. If you're just joining us, my name is Ethan. This is Community Conversations. I might be a little slower than I usually am. I know that usually I'm running through the comments and the energy is super high and I'm answering a million questions at the same time. And I'm not back to myself quite yet. So scrolling isn't my friend at the moment, and reading and just kind of being lights and things. But I figured I would give it a shot. I missed everyone. I missed advocating. So I wanted to be on here and show that you can be on here and not be perfect. And not that I'm ever perfect, but you can be on here and just we can meet each other where we're at. So why not walk the walk? Hi, Carolina. It's nice to see you. So with that, as always, I'm going to open it up to questions. What's on your mind? How are you doing? But I thought I'd fill you in on a little bit about my life because it pertains to the general main topic of conversation, which is OCD. Yes, Valerie is a dear friend, absolutely. And Doritos. She also sent me a DVD. So I mean, like, all my friends need to get it together. Hi, Stacy from Eastern Oregon. Good to see you. Um, thank you, thank you, Amy. I'll do my best. I surely will. So for those of you that don't know, I don't know if Cash is here. He's been trying to kill me for weeks or months, actually. But I got a horrendous case of vertigo, which, if you don't know what that is, that's when the room is spinning or you feel like you're spinning. It is a terrible feeling, and it makes you violently ill, or it was in my case. It was Beauty and the Beast, because as many of you know, I'm marrying Katie, and now 18 days, and she considers me the Beast and Katie the Beauty. I would totally disagree with that. Obviously, I am the Beauty, and Katie is also beautiful. I'm not going to call her a beast. That would be bad form. Thank you, Betsy. Yeah, no, I kept it pretty quiet. I was feeling really ill. So I've only had vertigo once before. It didn't last very long. It was absolutely nothing like this. It came on suddenly, and it was awful. And pretty much unable to do anything, and was kind of pretty much bedridden. Hi, Jordan from Oklahoma. Welcome. So the reason I bring this up, and if you're new to the stream, is like, why is Ethan talking about while he was sick, or why he was sick? So I will tell you a little bit of a story. But always, please feel free to ask questions, what's going on in your life and all the things, because as we know, I don't generally overshare. I like to support you all, but so when I was in high school, my OCD shifted to fear of health. It was the health anxiety now, but hypochondria. And my big fear was dizziness. I was always afraid that I was going to get dizzy, or had dizziness, or thought that I was dizzy and had a brain tumor. And that was the primary OCD fear for many years, especially through school. And one of the reasons I dropped out of college, because my OCD was so bad around what if I'm dizzy or I can't stand up, and I need a CAT scan or an MRI, check to see a brain tumor, all the things. So, and as we know, anxiety, when you have a panic attack or an anxiety attack, you can get lightheaded, you can feel dizzy. A lot of symptoms can manifest with panic and anxiety. And so that would happen a lot. But my big fear about being constantly dizzy was pretty prominent in my life until it shifted. My OCD theme shifted to self-harm in my mid-20s. So needless to say, when I feel dizziness, and of course I've been dizzy many times in my life, like probably everyone has, it isn't my favorite sensation, as it's probably not your favorite sensation, but it is most definitely not my favorite sensation, as it not only reminds me of really hard times when my OCD was pretty nasty, but it also, I don't know that I ever reconciled what dizziness is. I sort of, when I get really dizzy, just kind of panic. And like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? I think it's the sense of not feeling in control. In fact, I always, I don't really drink, and I never started to drink because, when I was in middle school and high school and watched people get drunk and start to, absorb, drink alcohol. What do you do when you get drunk? You get dizzy and you puke. And I was like, that doesn't look fun. I'm an emetophobic who's afraid of dizziness. So yeah, no, we're not going to be drinking that. So anyway, so to be dizzy for 4 weeks was really challenging. Like I said, I had the vertigo where I feel like I'm spinning. So it feels like I'm just kind of doing this, don't have a sense of where I am. And when it first came on, I've only had it once before, and there's these maneuvers that you can do. You may be familiar with that. And so the maneuvers worked before very quickly. So it's like, okay, great. We'll do the maneuvers and that'll be that. So I did the maneuvers and it didn't work. And I was kind of like, well, why isn't that working? And so after a couple days of like pretty consistent illness, I started Googling because I got really terrified. And of course, our brains go to the very worst, right? So I was already convinced that I was dying, had a stroke, had a brain tumor, had a bleed. I mean, you name it, right? So I got it on a Friday evening, was in bed Saturday, Sunday. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. And then Monday got violently ill again, multiple episodes, couldn't stand up straight. And we went to the ER. because I was really, really bad off. And I was at the ER for 9 hours on Monday night, got a CAT scan, and which is was a whole nother experience, because if you know my story, you know that I got CAT scans as a compulsion in 2010, in 2011, upwards of 5 a week. And so I hadn't had a CAT scan since that time. So we can speak about that trigger a little bit later. But it turns out that it goes from a compulsion to an exposure when you do that. But anyway, ran all the tests, and are they? Those are Katie's books, and they are really uneven. I think I'll just scoot over so we can see that. Just try to sit with the discomfort. I feel you. I like everything like neat and in order. Hey, Deleuze, good to see you, man. So I went to the ER, and everything was normal. Thank God. The CAT scan was normal. And I've managed to get in with an ENT, ear, nose, and throat, the next day, who specializes in vertigo and vestibular issues and things like that. So I went to the ENT on Tuesday of that day, and he saw me, and he did. Yeah, thank you, Beth. You totally know. And it's amazing how common it is. So I went to the ENT, and he did some maneuvers on me, and it went away. And I was like, oh man, this is great. This is great. And so he's like, just rest, take it easy. You know, if the vertigo is gone in 24 hours, don't go to any PT and just let it subside. So I was like, great. I felt pretty good the rest of the day, considering I had such a hellacious, 3 or 4 days. Took it easy, watched a movie with Katie, hung out. Next morning, woke up, still felt okay. Called the PT place, canceled. Exactly, Robert. Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. And then 30 minutes later, got multiple vertigo attacks. And I was like, son of a. So he had given me the maneuvers to do, and I think 1 or 2 days in, they stopped working completely. Got no relief from them whatsoever. So then I started to panic, because my mind goes, well, if I'm doing the things that I'm, they tell you it's the benign positional vertigo, right? But not great. Okay. It's still miserable, but like it's nothing scary. And this is the things you do for it, and then it goes away. So in my mind, very simple. If you do the thing and it doesn't go away, then it's not that. That's how my brain works when it comes to health anxiety. So what is it? Okay. Enter the largest amount of compulsions I've done in probably 11 years. So what did Ethan do? Well, Ethan, of course, consulted Dr. Google. Ethan went like 80 pages deep on vertigo, dizziness, everything you all know. I'm speaking to the choir. I know every possible thing that that vertigo can be caused by. I looked it up and dove down and read abstracts from colleges and clinical trials, and all the things, which of course makes it significantly worse, but gotta find that reason why this isn't working. At the same time, I decide, because I can't get in with a specialist again for 2 weeks and I can't function normally, that I would reach out to some of those online doctors that you can pay $50 and you can talk to these random online doctors. Thank you, Elise. It's good to see you. OCD Puss in the house, Elise Petronzio. And so I ended up speaking to multiple doctors, because you get a 1 month, talk to as many doctors as you want. So I took them up on that offer, and I probably talked to 8 or 9 doctors over the course of like a week. So asking all the questions, right? What is it? What could it be? Blah, blah, blah. And they'd all say the same thing. It's probably this, but if it doesn't go away, you should get an MRI and all the tests. And okay, fine. So needless to say, the second weekend after the ER and things not going away toward the late week, I was really struggling, not only with the illness but with the OCD and anxiety. It's challenging when it's something based in reality, because what's the difference between being proactive and being compulsive, right? Okay, I want answers. Well, that's valid. I don't feel good. I want to feel better. I want to know what's wrong with me. well, that's valid. I have an illness. Those are all real things. But of course, it quickly crosses over into compulsions. So what did I do? The first thing I did was I scheduled multiple sessions with my therapist. And this is causing anxiety. I'm noticing my legs shaking because I'm talking about it, but that's totally okay. And thank you, Matt. I do realize there's some common humanity for sure in this. But I scheduled multiple sessions with my therapist, and as well as my psychiatrist. Although I knew it wasn't a mental issue, my response to it potentially was to a certain extent, right? I was solving problems that hadn't happened yet. Yes, I was uncomfortable. Yes, I was miserable. Yes, I was unable to function. But I was already, and because I'm getting married in 18 days, and at the time a month away, like this felt like you got to figure this out now. You got to walk down the aisle. And not only that, but then I started playing all these terrible scenarios in my head about, what if I don't make it to the wedding, or what if when I'm finding my happiness, I die, just all those stories that you read that are a real part of life and probably aren't the case, but they could be. And OCD loves to latch onto that. So needless to say, going into the end of week 2, week 3, I was really struggling. I was really struggling with what was going on, the inability to function, not working at all, trying to figure out how to stabilize my mental health. I was crying a lot, and I was crying. I was actually probably crying in healthy ways. It felt good to cry. It evens out your cortisol levels. And it wasn't hysterical. It was just, I was able to get relief. Good question, Beth. I was able to get relief by laying on my back and looking to the left. That was it. Everything else was triggered, but it was my right ear. But anything to the right was bad. Anything to the left was good, especially laying down. Of course, that destroys your neck after like 2 or 3 weeks of that. But yeah, I was crying a ton. The one thing I didn't do was I didn't crawl inside a cave. I'm known for that. That is my typical coping mechanism, is to not speak to people, to just kind of sign off and disappear. And I didn't do that. And I was really proud of myself for not doing that. I talked to people, I talked to friends. I obviously interacted with Katie a ton. I stayed in touch with work, and tried to handle responsibilities. I worked with some of my team at my business to dictate things in emails just to keep things going. And they did an incredible job of keeping the work going. I have a cute cat right here. Anyway, but going into week 3, I was really depressed. I was really upset. I had increased my medication, my Klonopin, which I hadn't in a long time because my anxiety was so bad. And I was upset about that. I wasn't able to sleep. I was just having panic attacks. And by this time I was able to I got an MRI scheduled, and for that Tuesday, which was week 3, and this testing called VNG, which is a whole series of vestibular tests. They literally make you dizzy for 2 hours. I mean, it was like the greatest exposure ever. So going into Monday before the MRI, and hopefully I'm not boring you all with the story. I just feel like I always like when I always think about this when I'm experiencing it, because one of the silver linings is I always think about the fact that I'll be able to talk about it on one of these episodes, or when I tell stories and let you know that it's not always perfect, and life happens, and then OCD happens, and it's and we can come back from it. I was reading Two Bros have an MRI tomorrow for severe headaches. It's a compulsion, but I can't take the pain anymore. I feel guilty about it, but I can't get off the what if my headaches or something. I totally get that. Thank you for sharing, Two Bros. I was a wreck going into the MRI for a number of reasons. When I was sickest at my worst, I was getting multiple CT scans because I was afraid that I had a brain bleed. I had no symptomatology of a brain bleed. I was just afraid I had one because I touched my head or something. I hadn't had any imaging of my brain or my head since then. In fact, the year before, when I had some things going on, a neurologist wanted me to get it, and I declined because I just didn't want to go through that, and the symptoms had gone away, and I figured he was covering his ass. So I decided to live with the uncertainty. This, obviously, I was going to do literally what the doctor said because I was unable to function. But of course, I was absolutely convinced that they were going to find the worst possible scenario. And what did that mean? And all the things. So I was a complete disaster going into the MRI. I did call my psychiatrist and get a little help, which was helpful. And I will say I was fortunate in that I'm really bad at waiting for test results of any kind medical. I am not patient. I play the what if game, and I worry. The day before I went in to see the ENT, the day before I had the MRI, and he did a maneuver on me, and it made me violently ill, and I had a panic attack. And I think I scared the living crap out of him because I don't think an ENT is used to people having panic attacks in their office. So after the, yeah, he had me lay down. I had ice packs everywhere. I had, no, don't feel discouraged from going up on you. I'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, okay, Compassion, we are doing the best. Absolutely, I totally agree with you. Hey, stop being a butt. Stop being a butt. She's being a butt. She's picking on her sister. Say hi. Okay. So I said to him afterwards, I was like, this MRI tomorrow, if there's any way you can get me the results quickly, I'd really appreciate it. I think I scared the crap out of this guy because I got the MRI and I went home and I was a mess. And 3 hours later, I get a call from the doctor. Now, I know that if you get a call 3 hours after you get a major test, like that can't be good news. They're telling you to go to the ER or something. So it was the nurse, and she says, "Hi, Ethan. Doctor wanted me to call you right away. He wanted to make sure you had the results. Everything is fine and clear. It was completely normal. You'll have the results in a few days, but it's normal." The radiologist got back. So I hung up and I kind of laughed with Katie because it was kind of hilarious that I've like never gotten results. And I have this running joke with my therapist. Anytime I go get tests, even if it's just my yearly physical, she always says, "Ethan, now do not call for the blood test. Do not ask for it. Do not ask for it ahead of time. Do not email the doctor. Do not message to the portal. You have to wait until you get the tests whenever they send it." So I had my therapy session. I'm like, you know what? I waited till they had the test. Hi, Denise Egan Stack. I waited till I got they got the test. I didn't call them first. She's like, "That's great." She's like, "Wait, when did they call you?" I'm like, 3 hours. It's like, but I made it the 3 hours. But it was really funny. I took credit for that, whether she gives me credit or not. But it's interesting because OCD is really, really tricky, right? So the doctor hung up. I hung up with the nurse and I was on speaker and I immediately turned to Katie and I'm like, "Well, did she say what I think she said? Did she really say that it was normal?" And Katie was like, "Yes, she said it was normal." I'm like, "But when she means normal," and it went down the rabbit hole. Okay, of course, Katie immediately stopped reassuring me. And I wanted to see it on paper. Like, it wasn't like, what if I misheard it? What if they were wrong? What if he misheard the like all the what if questions, right? What if the radiologist didn't read it right because they were hurrying because I wanted it quick? All the things. They couldn't schedule my VNG testing until that Friday, and this was Tuesday. I started to sink in that at least the really scary stuff like a brain tumor or MS or anything like that was ruled out. But I still couldn't function. And I was still miserable and still violently ill. And yeah, absolutely, Amy. And this is a lapse, right? I wasn't relapsed. I was, OCD Amy said I was just reading about the difference between a lapse and a relapse by James Claiborne. And the what ifs, absolutely. And somebody else wrote something that was really good. Jordan Crawford at 721 wrote, "I also feel discouraged if I have to go up." I hate when this adjusts when I'm reading. Go up on my medicine, but I think we have to have some compassion for ourselves. We are doing the best we can. Absolutely. And I didn't get around to saying, in the moment, I was upset, but I'm a huge proponent of you use the tools that you have, right? And that there's no shame in that. I think it's easy for us to self-stigmatize. It's easy for me to self-stigmatize. When I got a bipolar diagnosis in 2018 and had to start medication for that, I sat on the bathroom floor and just completely bawled and cried for hours before I could swallow the pill because I felt like, why is my brain this broken? I just, OCD is under control. What is this new thing? So I totally relate, but it's no different than anybody taking a medication for any other illness, right? We wouldn't question anybody taking, any other medication for any other disease, disorder, illness, sickness, temporary or chronic. And we have to treat ourselves the exact same way. So I appreciate you saying that. So the third week was really, really bad. I met with my therapist 3 times. Thank you, Stacy. I actually told Katie throughout this ordeal, I'm like, there's going to be silver linings. And I started seeing the silver linings as I was going through this. For instance, the first 2 weeks, I felt really selfish. And you can say, don't be hard on yourself. And, but like, I was really like, I need to feel better. And I noticed like Katie was struggling a little bit on the third week. And I was like, wait, I can support her still as her soon to be husband and still feel like shit, right? Not that I just, but there's things I can do. I can ask her how her day was. I can say, do you want to talk about anything? I can lay there and look to the left and listen, right? And so I was like, it was a wonderful realization to be able to help her. But anyway, so I met with my therapist 3 times. We talked about all the things, and I met with my psychiatrist, and then I went for my VNG testing, which was literally, they made me dizzy for 2 hours. At this point, I just said, F it. Like, I was an hour in, and I was just kind of like, everything he did made me dizzy. And so I'm just like, well, let me just roll with it. And I kind of just let go. And I was like, I just expected to feel it. And you have to keep your eyes open and you have to like stay in the position that's making you miserable. So I was just like, all right, let's see. And he made me really dizzy. And he's like, you're doing so good about keeping your eyes open. Nobody can usually do that. And I'm like, no. We're going to find out what's wrong. I'm going to stay dizzy and I'm going to keep my eyes open so you can see everything moving around and we can figure out what the hell we're doing. Hey, Nathan Rice from Athens. And Two Bros, I don't talk about, it's not that it's too personal. I just typically don't talk about medication questions. And it's so individual about dosages and which medications work and don't work and things like that. So I don't answer those questions, but I always say, consult a psychiatrist or a doctor if you have questions about that. But I appreciate your question. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, listen, if Melissa wrote, I say F it sometimes too when it comes to OCD. Yeah, this was being dizzy. I don't know that it was the OCD, but I think F it is a great strategy for OCD. I mean, that was like the first strategy I ever learned. And I think F it is a really good strategy for a lot of things in life. But the VNG testing was interesting. Of course, I went to the front desk and they said, the doctor said, okay, the receptionist said the test results will be back in 1 to 2 weeks, and then we can figure out a plan. And I was like, I'm getting married in 2 weeks. What's the soonest you can have this back? And don't get me started on our healthcare system. We've already talked about it. We know how crappy it is in the mental health, but God, how hard you have to work to get anything and pay out of pocket because they don't take your insurance and all this BS. I am so sorry for anyone that deals with this or chronic issue. Like, I have so much respect and love for anyone that has to deal with this on a regular basis. I am so sorry. And please email me and we'll figure it out together because anyway. So I got them to get me the results the following Thursday. So Thursday of last week. No, that's incorrect. Yeah. Thursday of last week. So Saturday I was a mess. Sunday I woke up and my head felt different. And I was like, well, that's weird. It feels clearer. And I kind of got up through the day and then I was about to do something that I had to do, which was go to the bathroom. And that always triggered the vertigo and I had to hold on to everything. And I didn't get an episode. And I was like, well, that's weird. And it went away. I haven't had an episode. It's, I guess, day 10 now. It is taking a long time to get back to normal, for sure. In terms of the illness, last week I took it very easy. I went for a walk yesterday, and I have no energy, and I'm pretty weak, and my balance is really off, and I can feel attacks wanting to come on, and I'll stop doing what I'm doing. But it's been about 10 days. Went to the doctor on Thursday. The ENT got the results back. Of course, he says things like, well, the first half was completely abnormal, but we don't look at that anyway because it's mostly abnormal on everyone else. And it's like, well, don't tell me that. I want to know that, you know. But he was basically like, it's BPPV, you know. MRI is clean. The VNG shows vertigo in your right ear. You know, could it be some strange, weird neurology thing? Maybe. You know, I'm not going to rule that out, but we're pretty certain this is what it is. Glad you feel better. You know, here's what we need to do moving forward, which is it can come, it can go. Who knows? Live your life. You know, hopefully it doesn't happen for a long time. And if it does, call me and we'll deal with it. I got in the car and asked Katie a million questions because she was in the office with me. And I wanted certainty that I wanted him to say, you definitely have BPPV. Because then I have a clear course of action. But because he didn't say that, because he said, I'm pretty sure you do. There's really, yeah, exactly, crystals in the ear. But because he said, you know, there can be, you know, things. And I even know that he's covering his ass for insurance. And sure, there could be some random thing. But he's like, we definitely ruled out the scary stuff. It's not central vertigo. Anyway, but I needed Katie like to go beyond what he said. And finally, she's just like, Ethan, we need to leave it. I asked her not to show me the VNG test because I would look at everything that's abnormal and look it up. So I said, don't show me that. So she hid it somewhere. She's really good at losing important documents and sometimes money. So I just said, you take it, and who knows where it is. So I say that with lots of love. So that's it. You know, that was the story. So it's, I guess, day 10 or 11 since I've had an episode. I feel maybe 50% myself. It can take anywhere from 2 weeks to a month to kind of regulate after an episode. So what does this all mean? Probably went into way more detail about the physicality of it, but whatever. I will tell you that in the last, since the symptoms went away, I realized in retrospect that despite the compulsions, that despite my reactions and responses, I actually handled it really well. Me historically, before my significant OCD treatment and subsequent recovery, would have gone to the ER on day 1 and day 2 and day 3 and gone to a different doctor and asked for 40 tests. You know, I waited till things progressed. I waited for things. I was a mess. I didn't do it pretty, but all things considering, I would say I handled this pretty well compared to where I'd come from. And I am feeling better. Thank you, Brooke. It's good to see you. And Katie gave me all of your messages, so thank you. Oh, real quick, sorry. Jennifer Rebecca wrote, hi, Ethan, longtime listener, first-time commenter. Glad to see you're feeling a little better than you were. I missed the very beginning, so I'll have to watch the beginning. Good to see you, Jennifer, and thank you for commenting. Amy Ellison wrote, so Ethan, when your OCD flared up, did you punch it in the face? Let it have it for trying to take away what you value. So that's what I'm kind of getting at. It punched me in the face a lot, and I punched it in the face a lot. I think we have to look at the overall picture. And this was important for me to do. I had to widen out and really take a look at month compared to multiple years, compared to how I reacted and responded to things in the past. And despite the discomfort and despite it, I let things play out the way it needed to. And I had amazing support. Katie was unbelievable. She was the most amazing partner and nurse and support that I could ever hope for. And I mean, there's no words to describe how phenomenal she was, which is why I bought her shirts instead. But even shirts don't quite cover it. I think the first thing I had to do was really take a look at the situation, and of course I wanted to handle it perfectly, and I didn't. But in the grand scheme of things, I think I did a really good job, based on my history, based on how I typically deal with health anxiety and things that come up, based on what's going on in my life. I'm about to get married. I have a lot of good stress, but OCD attacks the things we care about. So, maybe I would have been a little less, triggered did I not have my wedding coming up, which is a day that I've dreamed about my life. So that was the first realization. The second realization was, she is, Brooke. She really is. I'm the luckiest man on earth. Thank you, Chad. I appreciate you, man. And I read your post. Congrats on your weight loss walk, and that's awesome. I'm proud of you, dude. I think my mood recovered pretty instantly in terms of feeling really sad and depressed to just feeling better and being more upbeat and feeling positive. But of course, I noticed the residual impact of having, I wouldn't call this traumatic or a trauma, but it was really crappy and uncomfortable. And, it was traumatic. I wouldn't say this was a lifelong trauma or I was traumatized by it. I'm always careful to use those words. But, and Nathan, let's talk about your OCD treatment resistant in a minute, because I don't believe in that, but I'll explain what I mean. So Brennan, don't let me forget to talk to Nathan, if you wouldn't mind, in the comments, only if you're open to it, maybe giving a little information about your experience and just give a little background, only if you're comfortable. If not, I will give out my email at the end of this and you can email me and we can have a private conversation. And I'll tell you why I don't believe in treatment resistant OCD in a minute. Brennan, just pop a thing in the chat reminding me of that, or yell at me, or somebody remind me once I tell the end of the story, because I won't remember. But what I noticed was the anticipatory anxiety going through the roof. For the first, well, even to now, like I was nervous to turn to the right. What if I turn to the right and get dizzy? What does that mean? What if every head position that I couldn't do, I was scared to do, right? I was scared to push myself. I was scared this is literally the first time I'm sitting at this desk, looking in this computer for any length of time, taking a Zoom call. I've been on my laptop, which doesn't cause me to feel weird because it's just a smaller screen. So my anticipatory anxiety and my anxiety around what if, was it going to come back? And I think that's valid. I think that's completely valid to have been dizzy for 4 weeks and then be like, God, I hope I turn my head. I hope I turn my head and I'm not dizzy. I think that's completely valid, right? I think the question then becomes, like, when does it become compulsive or impede with functioning and avoidance? And that would be if I don't do any of the things that triggered vertigo, right? If I don't turn my head at all, if I avoid the things that triggered, avoid the things that triggered the vertigo. And I've really, really, really worked hard to not do that. Yeah, I'll give out my email at the end. For those of you, I know you have lots of thoughts. We're talking about the health stuff. I usually wait till the very end, but I'll just, actually, would you mind, Brennan, would you mind just flashing my email up on the screen? Because I know a lot of people have a lot of questions and we're kind of doing it different today. Brennan will get that on the screen in a sec. And you guys can copy the email and just be patient with me getting back to emails, but I will definitely get back. But, avoidance would look like, thank you, Brennan. Avoidance, give me 1 second. Um, so I think avoiding any situation that could trigger the vertigo. I've really worked hard to not do that. Um, re-engaging, with work and friends in meaningful ways. Not pushing myself, listening to my body, but continuing to do things that are meaningful and get back on track and do a little bit more each day. Um, and get back off, go back down on the medication. Um, um, get back on the Medicaid, go back down to the regular. And so I was I wanted to take a very proactive approach to, um, sorry, I wanted to take a very proactive approach to chipping away at getting back into this one at a time. And because I know how a monster, that can be as you avoid things, right? Um, Hi, Melissa Marquez. And chat wrote, our whole house came down with COVID last week, caused my health OCD to flare up a bit and became hyper aware of every sensation and feeling, caused a lot of head pressure. Third time I've had it myself. I'm sorry, Chad, but I'm glad everybody is feeling better now. And so thank you all for the amazing comments and love and support and all of that. The other thing I wanted to say was I also wanted to be proactive about, potentially. So I think that stress is was a big factor for me. And if you've been watching the stream for a couple of years, you know that I had some other things, some physical manifestations that I think are also attributed to stress. So yeah, and use that. Thank you. You can use that email that IOCDF just posted, justethan@iocdf.org. We also showed at the end of the stream as well. And you can use that email. Thank you so much, Brendan. I appreciate it. So I actually had my therapy session today, and I wanted to talk about stress and reducing, and what does that look like? Just reducing from a place of, less hours or working less hard. I really wanted to look at, for me, I think stress impacts my body in ways that I don't quite know that I'm stressed, or things are happening that I don't quite like. I can identify the busy stress, I think I want to identify the things in my life that are causing me stress and come up with a plan for self-care that potentially makes a difference. So anyway, with all of that being said, I want to go up and take a look at your actually that'll be hard for me. Let me make a new thing. I apologize. And I know you guys are talking in the chat, which is awesome. I'll scroll up a little bit. Oh, there's Nathan's comment. Perfect. Thank you for the reminder. So real quick, thank you for letting me share the story. I really appreciate it. I hope you gained some insight from it, some hope from it, some knowing that you are not alone in this journey. I also wanted to be here with you tonight, even though I'm only feeling about 50% better, because I wanted to challenge myself. And, if I can't do it with the people that are our community, that are my community, that I love and trust and care deeply about, that who can I challenge myself with, right? And so what a better support system than community conversations, and to do it here, and my thinking was, if I get vertigo on the stream, I'll deal with it. I'll handle it. Hopefully I won't. And so thanks so much for letting me share, and hopefully you identify with some of the experience. The goal is to not, as somebody mentioned, the difference between a lapse and a relapse. This was not a relapse. My OCD, which is a disorder, a disease that I have, was responding to something as a trigger that was a valid trigger. And I did the best I could to mitigate it through the skills and tools that I knew, but it was also very difficult because it played on some of my higher hierarchy themes. And so that's exactly how I have to view this past month, which is valid. Could I do better? Next time, maybe I can. Am I going to show myself lots of self-compassion? Yes, 100%. Because out of the grand scheme of things, out of my entire life, this was handled pretty damn well, all things considering, and how disruptive this actually was from a physical perspective. So I think recognizing that, showing yourself lots of love and self-compassion, and not harboring on it or trying to stay stuck on, what if it happens again, all the things, rather to be grateful that I'm feeling better, not only physically, but, it's all about, I always talk about, it's always about the comeback. OCD, your OCD management is always about the comeback. How fast can you come back? It's not about the lapse. It's about the blip. And then, I've given so many examples of times where my OCD has gotten so nasty, but I think part of maintenance and management is some of the beauty of treatment and the beauty of accessing treatment and doing exposure and response prevention and acceptance commitment therapy or whatever may work for you. The beauty of really engaging in that is the rebound. You can rebound quickly. And I know many years ago, a situation like this would have put me in bed for an additional 3 months. I would have been scared to move. I would have been scared to do anything. I would have been scared. What if it happens while I'm driving? What if it happens when I'm grocery shopping? What if I embarrass myself? What ifs galore? And it doesn't mean that I didn't have the what ifs. It just means that in the last week, I went to the grocery store by myself for the first time. I drove myself to get my tux measured for my wedding, right? I'm easing into life. Yes, the what ifs exist, but I really don't want OCD to be in prison, for myself. Been there, done that, got the shirt. I don't have that shirt. OCD is a prison. Yeah, we should get shirts made. But so, that's something that I have control over, is the reaction to this. And I love that, it's been a week and I can come on here and talk about it. And you can see, I can talk about the struggle, but I can also talk about the strength and turning the pain into purpose, being here and representing, what treatment looks like in terms of like, I don't not have OCD. My OCD is nasty as hell, along with my health anxiety and everything else. But it comes in waves and fits and spits, and and now hopefully we're coming back out and we're gonna be good. That's the hope, right? That's all we can do. So thank you for letting me. Appreciate y'all very, very much. Leanne, when I saw what kind of theme, I thought you were talking about my OCD for a second. No theme, no specific theme, just lots of love and faith and spirituality and family. So, and it's good to see you. Anyway, let me go back up to 741 and read Nathan's. Diagnosed 30 years ago, been through CBT, been on many different medicines. It still won't go away. Prozac made it go into remission temporarily for 2 weeks one time. So Nathan, my next question to you is, I know you said CBT. Do you actually mean exposure and response prevention? So did you do ERP or just cognitive behavioral therapy? And then I have some additional thoughts. Oh no, wedding date is September 30th. Katie and I are getting married 2 weeks from Saturday, and we'll share all the things with you. We should do a post wedding community conversation. We can fill you in on all the details. We're actually doing for the OCD online conference. We're doing a panel on. Katie submitted this on my OCD showed up at my wedding, which I thought was like, why would you put that out there? But it probably will. So I blamed her initially for the vertigo. Because I was like, if you hadn't put that panel out there, but yeah, Nathan, did you do exposure and response prevention? Was it just cognitive behavioral therapy? I got you on the SSRIs. That'd be awesome. I would love. I don't think People Magazine is covering this wedding. I'm not. I'm not that special. But I wanted to look back at, and I wanted to say something, whether Nathan responds or not. There, okay. I want to say something. I don't know if Nathan's here or not. He'll respond in a minute, but I do want to say the reason I don't think anybody is treatment resistant is because I think that research has let us down. And I've said this before. I think research has let us down, whether that's research in behavioral therapies, research in pharmacologicals, research in any other biological treatment. OCD has been grossly under-researched. And because of that, we haven't had a new medication in almost 30 years. I'm not sitting here suggesting that there aren't amazing pioneers in the field that are doing incredible work. There are, and there are always that are OCD conferences, right? But if you look at other diseases and disorders, if you look at anxiety, depression, autism, mental disorders, or obviously physical disorders like cancer, I mean, the amount of research, the fact that there hasn't been a new drug since 1997 is horrific. Horrific. Show me another disorder, right? I'm sure there are rare diseases and things like that. But I truly believe that science has let us down. I truly believe that none of us are treatment resistant. I simply think that research and science need to move faster. They need to work harder, and they are. I don't want to sit here and say like, yes, there hasn't been something in 30 years, and we're the forgotten people, because we're not. Actually, things are changing as we speak. There's a clinical trial for medication. There's multiple clinical trials for TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation, for DBS, deep brain stimulation, for psilocybin, for all kinds of treatment modalities. For behavioral modalities, there's acceptance commitment therapy, exposure response prevention, inference, metacognitive behavioral therapy. There's all kinds of things coming to the forefront. And I think they'll all continue to make a difference. And as we continue to show people that OCD is a debilitating disorder that affects literally millions worldwide, millions in the US, hopefully people will continue to start taking it very, very seriously. And OCD is doing an incredible job of along with the IOCDF, of getting the word out there, and showing people that OCD is not a joke. This is a debilitating mental illness that costs the economy billions of dollars, and one of the top 10 reasons people file for disability and all the things. But I take comfort in the belief that there's so much more to be discovered. So I really don't think any of us are treatment resistant. I just don't think that all of us respond necessarily to the treatments that are out there yet. I am a big believer, though, that many of us can respond to the treatments that are out there, and most of us do. And just because you haven't doesn't mean you won't. And I know that's hard to hear, and there's a lot of details and nuance in that. I take comfort in saying that about the science and research, because it's not my idea. And as much as I would like to take credit for saying that, I was actually blown away. I was interviewing the head of a pharmaceutical company who was doing the first trial for medication in 30 years. And I was talking to the CEO, and those are his words. He's the one who said that science and research has really failed the OCD community. I felt very seen for the first time. I was told I was treatment resistant for 12, 15 years before I got the right treatment and went through hell to get better. And hearing him say that, I felt really seen. It's not our fault. We're not broken. It's not our responsibility to make the treatment work for us. It's their responsibility to make the treatment work for us, right? And of course, I'm not saying that don't try an ERP. There's things you have to do. You have to meet people. People who want to get sober have to do things, but you understand what I'm saying. But I felt so completely seen when he said that to me. I try to say that back to a lot of people, because it was very profound for me in my own life, hearing that, especially suffering for so long and feeling like therapy for me too. So Nathan, I see at 7:49 you wrote, not just CBT, I know what ERP is though. Okay, so this is a great place to start, and I'll make this brief. And I apologize, I know this is a little bit different show if I didn't get to your comments, but Nathan, so ERP is a sub-modality of treatment under cognitive behavioral therapy. So CBT is an umbrella, and under that treatment is exposure and response prevention. So ERP is always CBT, but not all CBT is ERP. So exposure and response prevention is the gold standard treatment for OCD. It is the gold standard treatment. And there are other treatments, but for behavioral therapy, it is the gold standard. And when you engage ERP, and I know it can be very difficult, OCD is actually one of the most trivial mental illnesses there are. Just talking about this in a meeting earlier today. So very, very important difference to understand, which is CBT is not ERP. ERP is CBT, but CBT is not ERP. I can't tell you how many people I talk to that are like, well, I did CBT, it didn't work. Well, did you do ERP? No, I didn't. So exposure and response prevention is the gold treatment. You can visit the IOCDF website for lots and lots of information on exposure and response prevention. Nathan, I would highly, highly encourage you to check out ERP. You said you know what it is. I see. Maybe deep dive, look into it. They have amazing resources on the IOCDF website, as well as providers that specialize in ERP. Exposure and response prevention is what you want to be doing for OCD. And yes, there are other modalities to do as well. Medications can play a role in some individuals. I was on every SSRI known to man. I'm on one now. And there's lots of other things to try, but the first stop is the gold standard is ERP. So I actually, Nathan, without knowing too much of your story, I actually take a lot of optimism and comfort by hearing that, because I feel like you have a lot of undiscovered country in front of you that might lead to some relief. I struggled with OCD for 30 years before I found the right treatment. I was diagnosed at 17, 14. Took me 17 years to find ERP, but I was born with it. And once I found treatment, ERP was really hard for me. And I ended up doing acceptance commitment therapy and going through an entirely different thing. Actually, Brennan, if you don't mind putting a link to my keynote speech from 2014. If you're new to the live stream and you don't know my story, this is a 45-minute video when I gave the keynote speech at the IOCDF conference in 2014 in Los Angeles. We'll put it in the chat. And this is literally my story. It also has footage in it from when I was sickest at my worst doing exposures and how ill I actually was. So yeah, so I'm highly optimistic. And I want to read, I just happened to catch, let's see here. Oh, we're getting married on your birthday, Robert. That's awesome. Or more like your birthday's on our anniversary. I'm just kidding. Yeah, when Prozac made it go into temporary remission, it was like what alcoholics call a day of sobriety. And I want you to know that you're not alone. I don't know if it's your first time here. It's the first time I've seen your name. You may have been on other conversations where I wasn't hosting, and I apologize for missing the last 4 weeks. I had a very similar response to SSRIs. And I was reading Erica's comment, and I would go on a new SSRI. I would get relief for 6 or 7 months, and it would come back and try a new SSRI, and it would come back and try a new SSRI, and it didn't work as well. All the top researchers agree that the combination of medications and therapy work really, really well. Doesn't mean that you have to be on medication lifelong. What they do know is, it does allow for the behavioral treatment to get in there. It lowers your shields a little bit. So, I've heard numbers thrown around like, maybe in terms of getting to a place of maintenance and management, 20 to 30% is medication and 70 to 80% is the behavioral therapy. So, take that for what you will. I want to address Erica's statement. I may be treatment resistant, but I can say I'm much better than I was before. So whatever that means or doesn't mean, it doesn't mean much to me. Erica, if you are better, you are not treatment resistant. People can, I too don't know really what treatment resistant means, other than my definition, and I think maybe it's important we define it, is, my definition of treatment resistant is that no treatment makes me better at all. Like no matter what I do, I can't get better. And that's how I felt for 30 years. Going to talk therapist after talk therapist and medication after medication, and so forth. And after, I still needed tons of help after the right treatment. But OCD at this moment, there's no cure. It's not curable. And we talk about that all the time. But what does it look like? The word chronic scares a lot of people, and it would me. But what does chronic actually mean? Well, if we take my life, for example, and, I was bedridden, living in my parents' guest bedroom. I dropped out of college because of OCD. I never spent the night out with friends. I never went to sleepaway camp. I share so many similarities to so many of your stories. My story isn't special, unfortunately. But if I look at my life now and go, yeah, my OCD pops up when stuff happens, when I get stressed or for whatever reason, like it did, and maybe it really rocks my world for or not. But like, I have a thriving business. I'm getting married to my soulmate. I love my family and friends. I'm doing things in life that we're looking for a house. I never imagined I'd be doing these things. So if my life is what chronic means, I will take it, because I truly believe that chronic OCD, if I'm chronic, I feel cured. And I'm just going to say that I feel cured, even as bad as OCD was the last month. Like, to be able to rebound quickly, the ability to come on and talk about it, the ability to recognize what it was, to work with treatment providers, to work with my own therapist, to be able to get back on the horse and keep writing. And, have a good week so far. I'm doing things that I never thought I would be doing. Advocacy. If my life is what chronic OCD looks like, sign me up for it. Again, compared to where I was. I hope there is a cure one day. My God. And I hope it comes sooner rather than later. But we can't be afraid of the word chronic, because chronic doesn't mean wherever you are right now, that's how you're going to be the rest of your life. Chronic could mean you might have obsessive thoughts, once a month. Or when things get really stressed and they're just whispers and then they go away, and maybe you compulse twice and that's it, right? It can mean a lot of things to different people, but we have so much control over our reaction to our thoughts and what we do and our compulsions, and whether we choose to compulse or not. And OCD is so responsive to treatment. And I know the barriers to treatment. I know the cost. I know the access. And I hate it. I hate talking about like just get treatment, because it's hard. It's hard to afford it. It's hard. I know all of that, and I get so for everybody, and for myself as well. I think that, but I just want to hit home this idea, and Erica, you really brought it up for me. This idea of, I love what you said. Maybe I am treatment resistant. I don't really care. I'm better than I was. I like that. I really like that, but it got me thinking about the whole idea, which we've talked at length about cures and chronic and what it all means. Some people, exactly. Melissa wrote, chronic doesn't mean being debilitated all your life. I have a friend with MS, and I've talked about her before, and she can go months and have the best days, and then it can just hit. She's out for a week or two, can't walk, can't see, right? But then, my personal mantra is more good days than bad. That's it. More good days than bad. If I can do that, if I can have more good seconds than bad seconds, more good minutes than bad minutes, more good hours than bad hours, right? Making choices, value-driven choices. It's not about having the thoughts, but my reaction to them. Then that's a huge freaking win. That is a huge, huge win. So exactly, Leanne, define your own cured status. And some people, I've met people that say they're cured, and I don't judge that either. I've met a few people that say, I don't have any more OCD thoughts. I don't judge. That's amazing. I'm just telling you what the experts tell me, and until they say this is a cure, and you can take it and your OCD goes away. But, cure is relative. And Nathan, I know that desperation. I really do. And I'm not saying I know your own story, but I think a lot of people here in this space especially can identify with that constant, no matter what you try, it doesn't work, feeling unseen, unheard. And hopefully, like I said, Nathan, it's my first time seeing you. I hope maybe you found a community here. Like I said, please feel free to email me and we can talk. And that goes for anybody here. I know we're over 8 o'clock. Thank you for letting me just kind of incessantly talk nonstop. I'm so sorry if I didn't get to your comments. But I really appreciate you letting me share about my last 4 weeks. Hopefully there's something there to take from you. I know that it was very helpful for me to share. So thank you for supporting me in the last 4 weeks. And you're my best accountability partners. You always have been. You encouraged me to show up tonight and encouraged me to show up as best I can. And so thank you for being just awesome people. So stay tuned. I'll got my email address at the end. But real quick, always want to thank the IOCDF and Brennan for keeping the light on. The online OCD conference registration is open. IOCDF.org/online OCD con to register. This year's online conference will feature 2 days of virtual programming for the entire OCD and related disorders community. Also, walks are taking place across the country. You can visit IOCDF.org/walk to find a walk near you. And Brennan, these are also, Nate, Nathan. Also, if you don't know about the online OCD con, he's putting it in the chat, or the walks. Those are also great places to meet people, to get support. Thank you, Amy. I really appreciate your comment. And finally, the online proposal system for online OCD camp is now open. If you're interested in presenting programming for this special event, you can visit iocdf.org/camp. Just a reminder, tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern time, there'll be a 60-minute research roundtable. So if you have questions, I'm honestly not sure of the topic, but you can find it on where you find all your IOCDF programming. Thank you, Leanne. I appreciate you. I can't wait to share all the updates for everybody. Thank you, Erica. Thank you for all the love. Love you too, Val. But see, Duluth, that's what I was. That's we'll talk. I hear you. Anyway, please don't forget to subscribe and follow on all the platforms, social media platforms, so you're reminded when we go live. You can join us. And finally, if you need resources at all, please visit the IOCDF website at iocdf.org. Finally, you can email me at justethan@iocdf.org. That is my my personal email. There we go. There it is. No one else checks it at the IOCDF. It is just me, so it stays private. Please feel free to email me there. And with all of that, the next time I will see you, I will be married, which is insane and amazing. So I can't wait to catch up all with you. And probably I think it'll be another month because I'm going to miss the next one because I'll be on my honeymoon. So I love you all. Thank you for being awesome tonight and supportive and phenomenal. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay vigilant, feel the feels. Don't let OCD off the hook. And there'll be lots of programming to come. And I will see you, I think, in around 1 month from today. Email me in the meantime. Have a beautiful evening. Good night.